Welcome to episode 3. That's a Tap UFC 271 breakdown and analysis. What a pay per view it was, and welcome, DJ.
Thank you, CT. It's always a pleasure joining you and breaking these fights down. Um, yeah, man, what a card it was. I thoroughly enjoyed the card. I think it delivered, um, and it was everything we expected and more, to be honest. A hell of a main fight. The Corey Main stole the show, I believe. Another really good middleweight bout and some really good performances throughout the card.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. It did. I agree. Delivered in spades, which is what we expected. What was the best thing about it for you, and what was the most surprising thing?
Oh, good question. The best thing for me, I love that main event. Um, and what it was, that technical warfare. Um, it was a pleasure to watch. What surprised me the most was Bam Bam Tuivasa getting the knockout, and you're knocking the knockout king, Derrick Lewis, in his own hometown in Houston. So that was a big surprise for me. We knew that fight was going to swing either way, and it was going to be a knockout. But in all honesty, we were expecting it more to go the other way with Derrick Lewis knocking Ty out, but that was not the case, and it was the exact opposite. I mean, it was a fun fight, but that was the surprise of the night for me. What about you, CT?
Yeah, you know what? I've got to agree. Bam Bam. Not that I didn't think he wasn't capable. He wasn't going to get the job done, but I just favored Derrick Lewis. But yeah, the way he did it to stop Derrick Lewis was like you just knew one of them was going to get their head knocked off.
It was a elbow that did it. I don't know if you saw it, but it was just a crazy elbow, and then you just see Lewis falling
Yeah,
lifeless face first. So it was crazy. It was bloody entertaining. I'll tell you that.
he was already dazed. I felt before that, but that was
Yeah,
just the final blow. But let's start with the Brunson Kananaya, shall
yeah,
we?
yeah.
Um, Yeah, so big fight, big ramifications in the middleweight. It's looking like Jared Cannonier maybe number one contender now.
Yeah.
What did you make of that fight?
Yeah, it was a good fight. I think it went the way we predicted in terms of Carolina getting the nod. Um, Surprisingly, Carolina actually lost the first round, I felt, and then he comes back strong and knocks Brunson out. I also think Brunson got caught in the moment. Obviously, Brunson's approach is a very wrestling heavy approach, which he employed. I think he got Carolina down and was able to control him on the ground as well. So he would have gone back to his corner a bit confident, but then came back out, got caught. I thought Carolina looked very sharp. He looked like a man who's out there to prove a point. It was evident after the fight. He pointed at Dana White and said, "I want that shot next." And definitely put himself in a really, really good position to take claim to that number one spot and get the title shot, which I believe he will get because the champion wants him to.
Yeah, given the way he finished the fight, DJ, it's hard to disagree that like if you ever want to make a statement, to make yourself the number one contender on a big pay per view,
Yeah.
Cannonier did everything he needed to do, and he did it. And
Yep.
yep. So that sets something up with with Izzy after we'll touch on the main event. But
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Definitely.
did he impress you with that win? Did you think it
I
was going to
did.
be an easy Kananaya win?
I knew. I mean, I was expecting Canada to win. In
Mm.
that fashion, I wasn't really sure. Maybe I was expecting a decision, but just keep in mind, Canada is someone who's fought in the heavyweight division, the light heavyweight division, and then we fight in the middleweight division. So we know he has that knockout power. If you look at him, this guy is a specimen. So he's quite fit. So yeah, look, no surprises that he knocked him out. I was surprised that Brunson was got a bit careless. Maybe he got caught in the moment because I think one of the things leading into this fight, what the champion said was, yeah, I'm having a close eye on that fight, but they need to show that they deserve that shot. They need to do something extraordinary. I think they both probably had that in their mind, and Ken and I definitely delivered.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And he's been a name that's been up there for a while, DJ. Now, like, he's earned his due. Kananaya, he's suffered that horrific injury, and then he's come from
Yeah,
heavyweight. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm a little bit more. It's starting to sink in. I'm a little bit more excited for that. I know Izzy will probably win that matchup comfortably, but
yeah.
just like you said to me, a different look. That's all we want to see is that just Izzy fight a different opponent now. I think.
Yeah, correct. And I think we've started to see all these rematches now and then. It'll be refreshing to see someone new, attempt to dethrone the dominant champion. Yeah, it's a good path he's been on since losing to Whittaker in Abu Dhabi. He comes back and he beats Gastelum quite comprehensively, and then he goes on to beat Brunson in a really good, spectacular fashion. And keep in mind, Brunson had his own a win streak as well. So to be able to do that and then to take on that number one spot, I think we are up for an exciting matchup between the champion and Kananaya. But I do agree with you. I mean, obviously at this stage, it definitely favors the champion. Um, Kananaya is a more striking heavy fight. He has a more striking heavy fighting style, which favors Adesanya, I believe. So but we'll have to wait and see. I think the champion's calling the July card for that fight. So I mean, he's a dominant champion, wants to fight. I can't see why the UFC won't make that happen. So yeah, let's see what happens. But I'm definitely excited to see some fresh challenges.
Yep. Yeah, and just quickly, what does it mean for Derek Brunson now?
Look, Brunson in the past, between the past few fights, he's also put himself out there in social media as well, and has been taking shots, making memes, and all these kind of things. But he's also been performing to back that up too. So he was on a really good streak, I believe. Beating the likes of Edmund Shabashi and Kevin Holland and Darren Till most recently. So obviously, if he had won this fight, you could lay claim to that title shot. But now with the loss, you do tend to feel with having lost to the Stylebender, having lost to Whittaker, and now Kananaya as well. He just put himself way down on the list. But having said that, he's sent a tweet out since the fight has happened saying, "Look, I'll pick myself up for one last fight." So he's obviously hinting at retirement. I mean, he wants to try and go out on a high. So I just think the pursuit for the championship has ended for Brunson. So I can see him being matched up maybe with a Gastelum, right, or a Sean Strickland even, for that fight because he still has a name value. So someone like a Sean Strickland can benefit from it. And not to say he beat a Manson recently, Sean Strickland, that is, so he's definitely put his name out there as well. But I think that could be a matchup they could entertain. But unfortunately, the path to the championship ends for Brunson here, I feel. But we've got to appreciate what he's done as well. He's fought the best of the best in that division. After losing to the champ and Whittaker as well, he was able to come back and put together a win streak.
Yeah. Do you feel like maybe a matchup against the Dream? Could that, given that the Dream might be left out, if Kananaya, Izzy, or maybe Whittaker?
I think after how the main event played out, I think the UFC will be very interested in maybe a Vittori Whittaker fight. I believe.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that as well. Yep. Yeah, spot on. So yeah, impressive overall. Just touching base again on that one. Kananaya, he's a fan favorite too. It's good to see these dudes with the potential to really climb up now, and yeah, it'll be well deserved. Hopefully, let's look out for that fight to get announced.
Yeah. Well, whenever it does, I'm sure it'll be a good event because everyone's excited to see what that fresh challenge looks like for the last vendor.
Yeah, and we'll touch base on whether we think Izzy will fight middleweight again in his next fight, or do you think? But we'll touch base on when we get to the main event. But let's now look at the co-main, DJ. It was
Bam.
it
Oh
was,
man,
yeah, shorter please, and it was yeah, like we touched on, it was our surprise of the night. Just the
Yeah,
fashion that he did it.
yeah. To knock out the knockout king in his hometown, you know, we Tai Tuiwasa's star was rising in the past few months with the win streak he has put together. I think it's a 5-fight win streak. And now all of a sudden he finds himself knocking out the number 3 ranked heavyweight in the world. And in dominant fashion as well. Like I think he wasn't gun shy. They did get caught in the moment. We saw. I think the moment got to the both of them when they started trading shots. The crowd got behind them. Obviously it feeds that energy feeds in. You could see, Derrick Lewis just abandons all game plan and starts trading, and we know Bam Bam. He's ready to throw hands any day. So it was exciting, and it was only a matter of time before someone got caught and went down, and that's what happened. But I think on Taito Iwasa, and it was really good to see that he sort of saw that opportunity and went in with those elbows. I think there was 2 in there. One dazed him, and the other one, got him out of there. So yeah, look, it was an exciting fight. It was a fan-friendly fight. It was always going to be a fan-friendly fight, and it delivered. It delivered on every account.
Yeah, definitely. Do you feel like Derrick Lewis? I mean, did he, miss? Take Bam Bam lightly? Do you think he made some mistakes? Do you just
Yeah,
think But do you think Bam Bam's just legit? What factored in to how it played out?
I think Bam Bam's desire to fight is very legit. His power is legit, right? I think what we see in Tai Tuivasa right now is he's enjoying what he's doing, right? He's enjoying being in there. He's become this fan-friendly fighter. Everyone loves him. The shoe is the talk of the town, right? The crowd's getting involved. I mean, he walks out to these extraordinary songs that no one expected him to walk out to. And then he comes and he delivers in his fights too. He's knocking people out. He's not just scraping a decision. He's knocking people out too. So I do want to say he's legit. Like it's not like he's just come from behind and blindly knocked someone out. He's put together a win streak. He's fought contenders and he's put himself in that position, and he's now again put himself in the position that he is in. I think you cannot deny that. Right?
Yeah.
But here's my question to you, CT. What do you think's next for Bam Bam? Because that makes things a little bit interesting at the top of the division.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, DJ. Great question. I think the UFC matchmakers, though, it's a good headache to have. Like you said, star on the rise, and that's stacked heavyweight division with superstars, and they're just looking at adding another one now
Yeah,
with Bam Bam. Like you said, they love a new star in a new market. Australia, we
yeah,
already got Whittaker, we already got Volkanovski. To have an Aussie now in the heavyweight, again, after it's been a little while. Not only that, to beat Derrick Lewis out on his home floor, that was a big statement win. I think what could be next could be, look, you take your pick. Could be any of the biggest names. Could be any of the biggest names. Maybe they might want to make a it'd be a nice, maybe a comeback fight for Stipe. Do you think?
yeah,
Is that
yeah. No,
is that too lofty?
maybe, maybe too big a jump. Given that Stipe just lost to the champion. I mean, his most recent fight was to the champion where he lost his belt. I think the UFC is definitely heading in the direction of John Jones versus Stipe, given Francis Ngannou is going to be out for a considerable amount of time. It is also encouraging to see that the UFC is actively working on retaining Francis Ngannou, which is good, which is encouraging. And even in the post-fight press conference after the UFC 271, when asked a question about, who would you like to work with as a boxing promoter if Francis Ngannou were to fight, a heavyweight, and Dana actually entertained that. He said, "Look, I'd rather work with this," which shows encouraging signs. So they definitely want to work with Francis, which is great. So we put Francis aside. I think they'll make that John Jones Stipe fight. It will be a good entry fight into the heavyweight division for John Jones. And then if he beats Stipe, obviously that makes him the clear number 1 contender. And then he will wait there for the return of Francis Ngannou and then make that fantastic fight. I do believe they might even throw in an interim title. And this time, although it will be valid because the champ is out with the surgery, which leads to the Cyril Gane again. I think maybe not yet for Bam Bam. I actually wouldn't mind to see Bam Bam's going to be in the top five. I think we can all agree on that. And I would like to see the winner of Tom Aspinall versus Alexander Volkov fight Bam Bam. I think that'll be a good fight. Either one of those guys, whoever wins, and that sort of further solidifies either party at the top of that division. And I think Curtis Blades is fighting as well. So maybe the winner of that then can fight Curtis Blades. But I think for Bam Bam, what's next should be, in my opinion, the winner of Tom Aspinall versus Alexander Volkov. Do you agree with that, or there's something else in mind for you?
Yeah, no, I think you make a lot of great sense. Like always, you have a good idea as to how the UFC matchmakers are looking, and yeah, you want to build the guy up a little bit more. Squeeze a bit more out before you throw him to the wolves at Stipe and stuff.
Yeah.
But just a little bit on topic, but off topic. But let's dream about a future event where it could be Volkanovski, Whittaker, Adesanya, and a Bam Bam, headlining a big card down here now with all these guys. I mean, they're
Right
all
there in
sort of
Marvin's head somewhere there. Oh man.
because
That
they just had their fights, but maybe their next fight, like let's say 9 months, they could all be ready to fight again. That could realistically be September down here, like they try and do. Our Australian international borders are opening later this month.
And that'll be a dream come true. I mean, how awesome would that be? No matter which city they decide to have that fight in, I'm sure you're on this with me. We're getting tickets and we're going to be in that arena and we're going to be as close to the cage as possible. But man, it is exciting to think that's a possibility, and all this is a possibility because of the talent that's coming from this side of the world. We got some dominant champions in Israel Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski. We also got Robert Whittaker, ex-champion, also a very dominant fighter. We got Dan Hooker. We got Bam Bam now as well, and we had Jack Della Maddalena, who fought in the previous card from Perth as well. He's an up and coming fighter. So there's so much talent that you can squeeze in here. So definitely, if the UFC decide to put a fight card together over here, I think they definitely have the talent to pack that card. And it'll be a sellout. It'll be one of the top cards that they could. Could you imagine Adesanya versus Kanonaya main event, Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3 co-main event, and then you got Whittaker and Vittori for the next fight down. You could do a Dan Hooker with now Dan Hooker's in featherweight, so you can get Dan Hooker with maybe a Giga Chikadze or a Calvin Kattar, provided he wins his fight in featherweight that's booked in. So yeah, look, great prospects in terms of what can be. Let's just hope that it comes to fruition, especially with the borders opening up. It is looking very promising.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Now let's touch on Derrick Lewis, the beast. Still, I don't think this pushes him back down too much. It's not good to be knocked out, but the Black Beast is still a name to to behold in this division. What kind of matchup could we see for him?
That is very interesting. Now, I've actually tried to think about who could they match him up with, and you look at, I know Curtis Blades has got a fight booked in, but he's already beat Curtis Blades. There was this very exciting push to get Francis Ngannou and Derrick Lewis back in again, because Derrick Lewis actually has a window of Francis Ngannou. But right now, that doesn't make sense. You cannot put him after a loss like that with the champion. He's been calling for Stipe, I know, but the Stipe John Jones fight makes a lot of sense, and I think they will end up making that fight. So you look at maybe that Cyril Gane fight, but what he needs to do is he needs to take some time away as well. and maybe fine tune his cardio and everything that he's been speaking about. He's been talking about wanting to lose some weight and increase his fitness. Maybe he focuses on that and comes back later on in the year, because Cyril Gahn did beat him in a very comprehensive manner as well, right? So yeah, I also can't help but think if he rushed his return back into the cage, because keep in mind he fought December. He fought Dorcas in December, and he got a knockout win, obviously, after coming off a loss to Cyril Gahn. And then, a month and a bit later, we see him back in the cage again with Bam Bam, who's got some real knockout power. So maybe in hindsight, maybe he rushed it too much just because it was a Houston card, and having him there made a lot of sense. But I don't know if that cost him the fight as well. So, look, we'll have to wait and see. But I think probably taking some time off makes a bit of sense. And sit out and see how it plays out. You could get the loser of Tom Aspinall versus Alexander Volkov. We know that if he gets Volkov, Lewis knocked out Volkov in devastating fashion in the very last second of the fight, UFC 229. I remember seeing that on that Conor McGregor Khabib card. Or if Tom Aspinall loses again, it's a good test, but then that sort of takes him into that gatekeeper territory. If it goes down that path, but let's see what it is for Lewis. It's a bit of a hard situation to think about at the moment for me. Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, let's keep an eye out for that. And with that said, this is the moment we'd all been waiting for. The rematch. You and I are there in the building, like everyone knows, for the first bout.
yeah.
This one went. I'll start by saying it went the way we predicted. So let's pat ourselves on the back. We said it was going to go all the distance. All the signs pointed that Whittaker was going to learn from being knocked out, and Izzy's going to be a little bit more tentative coming off a loss, in another division. And I'll start by saying, look, they both did us proud. They both as fighters, hold their head high. It was a great main event to me. Scorecards, pretty close for a lot of people, but it was a bit of a divide, you could say. But for me, I'll start by saying, Robert Whittaker, proved that he's the second best, middleweight in the world, which is no shame. And Izzy just fought a real safe, clean fight. Used the leg kicks to keep him. Keep his distance, and he was just in control. But it was close. It was close. Like this. I have hope that they'll fight again. What are your thoughts on that?
That's spot on, CD. Like I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think it was a very close, competitive fight. We obviously called it. We did call it for a decision. We weren't expecting a knockout, and I think rightfully so. It was a technical chess match. It was very technical in there. There was a lot of waiting, and both fighters were very apprehensive, being very careful in there. And look, it's a lot of stakes, and a lot on the line, and rightfully so. The champion did fight a very safe fight, but he did what he had to do, I guess. But here's a question for me: did you feel as soon as the fight ended, the bell rang? What was your immediate reaction? Who do you think won?
Yeah, I did feel Izzy won slightly, but I must admit I felt that the commentary. I know you like to watch fights, unmuted as well sometimes, but the commentary was a little bit biased towards showing talking about Izzy winning comfortably.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit some more subjective than what they made it out to be.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100% agree. I think my immediate reaction as well was the same. I'm like, oh, I feel like, Izzy won that fight. But then later on, I was reading through all these comments and stuff, and which people have been complaining about a biased commentary. So I went back and watched it with the commentary again, and then without the commentary, and I realized maybe it was a tad bit biased. It wasn't as one-sided as they made it sounded to be. But look, regardless, even when I watched it without the sound as well, it was tough. Like I just can't confidently say one person won. Izzy being the champion, and being so comfortable in the cage there and not being under any threat, I felt, yeah, look, how can we justify taking that belt away when, he was comfortable, he was, all 5 rounds, he kept that same energy. But having said that, Whittaker brought the fight, right? I mean, we know Adesanya is a tricky person to fight, and I think Whittaker showed how you fight him as a middleweight. But I mean, we've seen that sort of light heavyweight fight where Blachowicz was able to hold him down, but that purely came down to the size and the weight. Whereas middleweights they don't have that. So I think Whittaker was very cautious, and I think it was using his jab well, was trying to enter through those jabs, and he got him down a few times too. I do feel there were opportunities where you could have got him down a little bit more, but having said that, I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and say that you're in there with a high level fighter, who's looking sharp as ever. I think some of the noteworthy things were it's now become a tradition. Adesanya never sits between rounds. You're standing. But for me, some things that I noticed was like he wasn't even breathing heavy. Whereas you looked at Whittaker's corner, he was a bit. He looked a bit labored, right? But having said that, Whittaker only grew in strength. I think when the first knockdown happened in the first round, I was like, oh gosh, it's going the same way the first fight went. And then he came back, and so rounds 2, 3, I felt 4 and 5, Whittaker confidently won. Round 3, 2 and 3 were very hard to score, right? We've seen this in Adesanya fights. Unless you take the fight to him, you're not going to see too much activity, right? So Whittaker was sort of being smart about being in the middle, taking that fight, but at the same time being cautious as well and stepping back. I think Izzy got him with a few counter strikes as well, but this time it was good to see that he was able to take those shots and he was able to still do what he wanted to do. What were your thoughts on the fight, CT?
Yeah, well, I'll say give you credit. We were talking off air about if the belt was not on the line, you said, hey, this the result could have gone different. Fights get scored a little bit differently without the belt on the line, and I agree with you. Rounds 4 and 5 were clear by Rob, and I felt like if he did a bit more ground and pound, if he was the takedowns.
Yeah.
If Rob was able to, like, one of those rounds really command that takedown and do a bit of ground and pound, that could have given him an 8-10 round, or that could have really opened the door. I just feel like Rob was just that close to opening the door in the fight, but the door just never opened. But I also want to say that we may not really fully appreciate Rob's performance until we watch Izzy's next couple of fights. Like,
Yeah.
if Izzy
Correct.
steamrolls Kananaya, he steamrolls the next guy. People, whoever's underwhelmed by Rob's performance, we might be looking back in a year or two and saying, hey, Rob actually he's quite clear the second best fighter. He's the only guy that could even make Izzy look beatable.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was spot on what you said. I think the next few fights of Israel Adesanya will show us how good Whittaker's performance was. And this was by no means a washout, right? Like, if you look at the previous fight between Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vittori, it was a 5-0, 5-0 washout, right? And this one here, people are split in the middle. Just an equal amount of people saying Whittaker won and an equal amount of people saying Adesanya won. So that itself shows a lot of things. To be able to come back from a loss like that and face that same opponent, and to be able to do that, a lot of props need to be given to Vittori. But I also think a lot of props need to be given to Adesanya as well, because the expectation going into the fight was he was going to clean up Whittaker, and he was putting a lot of pressure on himself as well. But I think with Israel Adesanya, the reason why he's got that championship mentality is that he never takes any fight easy. He prepares 100% and goes above and beyond. So I think you're right. I think a little bit more activity from Whittaker, maybe. Again, I'm going to say this: it's easier said than done. We're seated here and we're talking. You're in there with the killer, right? But maybe a little bit more, maybe some ground and pound, or even ground control time, because Adesanya was able to pop up straight away or do the right things. Walk to the cage and then use the cage to walk up. I didn't feel that Adesanya was in any form of danger or threat throughout the fight. Didn't feel it. I also didn't feel Whittaker, bar that, I guess, first knockdown, wasn't in too much trouble either. Right? I think from the third round onwards, I sort of realized, okay, this is going to a decision, I feel. Right? But Izzy was looking very sharp, but so was Whittaker. I mean, Whittaker, it was more striking than grappling throughout the whole fight. And the whole question is, can you stand
Yeah,
up to Adesanya's striking prowess? And Whittaker was able to. Right? I think it's jabs. Even Adesanya pointed this out in his post-fight press conference. Like he was adding those, not just a jab, but double jabs and triple jabs at some point too. Keeping him at distance and trying to create those openings, which he did most of the time. And he capitalized on some of them by taking him down. But there were a few where, he did that, but he didn't go for that. He didn't shoot for that takedown.
yeah,
Look, it is what it is, but I think both fighters gave a really good account of themselves. I mean, these are the fights that make you want to be a fight fan. Two of the best in the division go against each other, right? And it is very technical. It's very technical. Either person could win, right? Let's forget that first round where Whittaker got knocked down, sorry. And after that, each round is you take your pick, right? So yeah, that's what
yeah.
it is. Um,
And yeah, just quickly, that was shown in the respect. Easy. Did you felt he paid Whittaker a lot more respect straight after the fight than
100%.
what you normally see? I think he knows how close Rob is compared to the rest. He's like, it's Rob, and then there's a drop. I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we saw like that raw emotion straight after the fight. You've gone 5 rounds now with this guy who you in your mind. This is I'm talking on behalf of Israel Adesanya. You know that in your mind he is good. This guy is good. I probably will meet him again. Right? So definitely straight away you share 5 rounds. It's a technical chess match you've been part of, and you've managed to complete the 25 minutes. So straight away your reaction is, I respect you. They both showed respect to each other because they genuinely respected their skills and what they displayed on that day. But having said that, Adesanya is also very smart. This comes back to that championship mentality, but also the way he markets himself. He knows that he's probably going to see this guy again, so he's not going to let into it too much, right? So you will, you need those kind of to get more eyeballs. You need a little bit of a rivalry and all those kind of things. But without a doubt, two of the best middleweights currently. You know,
Yeah,
very very confident in saying if they were to fight 10 times, you still probably won't be able to pick. It is it's anyone's fight, I guess. I don't know, CD, if you noticed this. There was one thing when during the walkouts, obviously big surprise. PC didn't do anything different during his walkout. It was just a standard walkout. But it also showed what we spoke about in our preview show, where he's zoned into the fight at the moment. You know what I mean? So I think if that shows how serious he took that fight. And there was obviously Whittaker didn't get booed or anything when he walked in, but the cheer wasn't as loud. Whereas when Adesanya walked in, it was a big cheer. But at the end, after the fight happened, we saw a little bit of a boo from the crowd when Adesanya was talking, and then when Whittaker was talking, there was a little bit of a cheer. What did you make of that?
yeah, that was a great question. Yeah, that was really interesting, and then the fact that the crowd was chanting for Whittaker as well, the underdog. Yeah, I just think it was a great crowd. Great respect, great respect. People respect Izzy. I think they just want to see someone come close.
Yeah,
We want to see competition. We're fight fans. We want to see Izzy really, really stretched and pushed.
yeah,
And I respect Izzy for going up to light heavyweight, and challenging himself. And no doubt he'll do it again this year, I feel. But that just makes me make me show that Izzy is vulnerable in that regard. But for the middleweight, I'd love to see, challenge. I'd love to see him get challenged. Kananaya is gonna give it his best. We feel like we're assuming Kananaya is gonna get the chance.
yeah.
But two questions for you, DJ. Do we ever see these two warriors fight ever again? And do you ever see Whittaker, being another champion in the future? Not necessarily against Izzy, but let's say do you feel like, because I feel like Whittaker gets better and better and better every fight. I still feel like Whittaker's learning and he's becoming a better fighter each time. So do you
Yeah.
think Whittaker could ever be champion again? And do you think these two will ever fight ever again?
Yeah, I do. I do think they will fight again, and I think they will fight in middleweight again. Um, Under which circumstances, I'm not sure, but I'm definitely confident they will fight again. When you're the two best, right, your parts are meant to, you know, intervene again, right? Um, and also in terms of will Whittaker be a champion, I absolutely think so. I think he's got that championship mentality. He's got the work ethic. He's very young. He's only 30, right? So he's got a lot of time in this game, provided that's what he wants. I definitely think he will be a champion. I think he'll be probably too small for that light heavyweight division. I don't know if he'll make that cut again into that welterweight division, but yeah, definitely, I do see him in some capacity being being a champion again. Yeah, for sure. Um, and also, like something I wanted to mention as well in terms of the crowd bullying part. I feel like sometimes big stars like Israel Adesanya could be the victim of their own success. And the reason I say that is, they've reached this superstardom, and the crowd naturally, expects
Yeah.
something extraordinary every single time. And we saw that with the likes of Conor McGregor. This was this loud-spoken dude who was coming out and knocking people out. And each fight, as his fan base grew, people were expecting more. And the thing with McGregor up until that Eddie Alvarez fight was that he was delivering. And every fight there was something new, something novel, and he went above and beyond. The Diaz fights, the Alvarez double champ, knocking out Aldo. So he kind of progressed each fight. Uh, Maybe the people are expecting the same, because obviously you can put Israel Adesanya in the same league as Conor McGregor, so they're probably expecting that, some flashy knockouts and all that. So maybe that's one of the reasons why maybe the crowd expected more. Maybe the crowd expected him to knock Whittaker out, and when that didn't happen, maybe the crowd was disappointed. But then again, having said that, this is a smart man's game, and Israel Adesanya is a very, very smart man, but also skilled and talented. He is without a doubt one of the best martial artists out there at the moment. So, yeah, look, let's see what other challenges lay ahead for him. But in terms of what's next, what do you think is next? I think we kind of know what's next for Adesanya, because he's going to most likely be fighting Jared Cannonier. Usually, when the challenger and the champion call the same person out or call each other out, you tend to see that fight taking place. So it makes sense, right? And everyone, like you said, we all want to see that new challenge. What do you think is next for Whittaker?
Yeah, I think Whittaker, we know, likes to take a break, and I think this is probably a good time. Just chill. I don't personally see Whittaker fighting again for another 9 months. You know, he's put in a heck of a performance, proven he's the second best in the division. Yeah, I could see him just taking a break for another 9 months.
Yeah,
Maybe two dudes need to fight off to build up to face Whittaker. We talked about it. Marvin Vittori. I'd like to see Hamzat. I like to see him move up, to be honest. I think that'd be nice challenge. What do
yeah,
you think?
yeah. No, Hamzat's the dark horse in both the divisions, but welterweight and middleweight. And funnily enough, people believe that the person to dethrone Kamaru Usman is most likely going to be Hamzat. And then also people believe that maybe someone to dethrone Adesanya in middleweight is probably Hamzat, which is crazy to think. This guy who's just come in, but he's been so dominant, and there's an aura about him. He seems invincible, right? So look, it's definitely exciting. Uh, Hamzat fight could make sense for Whittaker if you're saying that. But I personally would like to see that. I mean, Whittaker's fought the best of the best. I think, like you said, I feel the same. He'll probably take some time off and maybe come back and fight Vittori. That's a fight that So Whittaker hasn't fought two of the top names in the middleweight division, but Marvin Vittori and Paulo Costa is pretty much fought everyone. So add those feathers to the cap, maybe fight Marvin Vittori or Paulo Costa even, right? And then Marvin Vittori next. So he kind of then puts himself back in that number one
Yeah.
contender position. So
Just off that, you just sort of piqued my interest with that. Do you think it could shock everyone? And do you think the UFC would automatically, like, if he wanted to, would push Whittaker as a contender in welterweight to be the dude to beat Kamaru. Like,
You could,
you
I
know,
mean,
because he has the warrior in him to if he could cut that weight.
oh, yeah, most definitely. But I just don't think it's the right move for Whittaker. He was originally from the welterweight division, and that was when he was younger as well. And he definitely had weight cut issues. It's not a division where he necessarily performed well. So he's definitely depleting himself to the point where his performance is not showing. He's definitely clearly been very successful in middleweight. He's had one very definitive loss and one very close loss to the champion. Other than that, he's pretty much cleaned out the division himself. So I don't think, from a strategical point of view, it's a good move. But what may happen if they could do it and if the timing lines up, because there's always this, because it's so it's a crime that we're not getting to see the welterweight champion and the pound for pound number one Kamaru Usman go up and challenge for that middleweight championship, purely because obviously they have that brotherhood and we need to respect that and they respect that. But what could happen is if Hamza somehow steamrolls through the welterweight division and gets the welterweight title, then you have a case to bump him up to middleweight to say, okay, he's going to challenge for that second title. And if it is Israel Adesanya who's holding the title at the time, it'll make up for it. So I know this is just crazy thinking, but yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, the UFC love that. Like they would microwave Hamzat's success. I feel like if because he's torn through so many opponents already.
Yeah,
But like you said, two dominant dudes in both divisions. Kamaru, they've got a headache trying to find someone who can push him, and then they've
yeah,
got a headache trying to find someone who can push Izzy.
easy.
So
And the other noteworthy thing as well is that Kamaru Usman is number one in the pound for pound list, and then number two is Israel Adesanya. So, you know,
yeah,
it's just a tailor-made fight. It unfortunately doesn't work out.
maybe we need to look no further than a Colby Masvidal. Maybe the person is waiting in the wings in that.
You never know. You never know. They both fought champion twice now, though. But yeah, look, let's see.
Yep.
That's another exciting fight to look forward to. UFC 272, the grudge match between the best friends turned enemies.
Yeah, just real quick, just I thought of this. So what's in store for Leon Rocky Edwards? Um,
I think
you
the
know,
UFC. I think the UFC has promised him the next shot. Once, obviously, Usman's had a hand injury, or a hand surgery, I should say. So once he's ready, I think they'll make that fight probably in June, July, and then the winner. That's where maybe they're lining it up so the winner then fights Hamza, because Hamza's most likely been uh, zeroed in to fight Gilbert Burns.
yeah, yeah, and stay tuned, everyone. Next episode we'll be talking about the next pay-per-view to come. Of course, we'll be breaking down the next fight nights as well. But this has always been fun, DJ. I could talk about fights all day.
Always a pleasure, CT. But until we catch you in another episode of That's a Tap,
Yep, this one's a wrap. Peace.